Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. Hi to a quick little video on a recent leak that we've got. Now, full disclosure, I think it's pretty sus and it's very likely it doesn't end up turning out to be real, but it's still interesting to think about either way. And so, we have had a leak that character levels will be increased to 100. And I wanted to quickly talk about the sort of implications that that could have for the meta. I think the first thing that'll come to mind for anyone who already understands a little bit how level works in Genshin is going to be, okay, well, isn't that really good for Hyperloom characters and Nilo and Burgeon characters? Like the three Burgeon teams. And yeah, it would be. So, if you look at the level scaling on Hyperbloom, it goes from 80 to 90, it gains over 1,000 base damage, and assuming that it would follow the same damage curve as enemies, because we have level 100 enemies, and they can trigger reactions, right? So we know what the base damage for those are. Assuming it follows a similar curve, this one gains 1,400, you'd be in the ballpark of about 6,000. That's a lot. Right, that's a pretty sizable increase, and it would make, if it does turn out to be true, a pretty big difference. That being said, I think if it does turn out to be true, I doubt this is going to be how it works. I think enemy scaling can get higher like this, and the level scaling works the way that it does because we don't have level 100 characters. And once we do, there's nothing stopping them from changing, the curve to make it so you gain less from 90 to 100. And I think it's very likely that's what's gonna happen, that you gain less, because otherwise Hyperloom teams would gain significantly more from the level increase than other teams. And with Hyperloom teams already being pretty good and really easy to play, I think it's relatively unlikely to happen. I think if they do increase character level cap to 100, Hyperloom probably will get some damage increase, but I don't think it's gonna be on the same level as 90 to 100 for enemies. I might be wrong though, but yeah. Other than that, what other characters or what other types of characters benefit a lot from level increase? That's generally characters that don't directly scale with attack. Because the league was only for character level, not weapon level. And if that's how it turns out, you do not gain a lot of attack from character levels, right? If we look at a very cookie cutter attack scaler, right? Let's look at Xiao. If we look at how much base attack he gains from level 80 to level 90, level 80 unascended to level 90, right? It's 41 attack. From level 70 to level 80, it's also 41 attack. 40 from 60 to 70, but it's around somewhere between 40 and 50, right? So you basically gain 40 to 50 more base attack, which, because most characters that scale with attack build some attack percent, will generally translate to about an 80 to 90-ish. So on some characters it'll be more, maybe 100 attack. Reality is, on a lot of these characters, right, like if my Arlecchino gets 100 more attack, when she's in Bennett buff, she's already basically at 4k. Right? She's at 3,800. Gaining 100 attack here is a pretty marginal increase. It's just not a huge deal. Now, another thing that gets affected by character level is your defense multiplier. So the way that enemy defense, not resistance, defense and resistance are different in Genshin. The way that enemy defense works in this game is it takes a look at your character level and the enemy level, right? So let's say you're level 90 against a level 100, and it's your level plus 100 divided by the sum of both levels plus 200. It's not exactly how it works, because when defense reduction comes into play, it basically, it only affects a part of that, so you have to write it differently. But without defense reduction, this is how it works, right? So because of enemy defense, all of your outgoing damage is multiplied by 48%. If you are the same level as the enemy though, it would just be by 50%, which is a 2.6% damage increase. That's also not that big. The bigger portion for these characters is generally going to be talents. If you increase the ascension cap, it's likely you're also going to increase your level cap, right? So again, for Xiao's plunge attacks, it goes from 404 to, if you would be able to get it level 12, 461. Now that's more than 10%. That's a pretty big deal. That's generally where the most of your damage is coming from when you look at leveling up characters higher. For him, it's a bit less than 14%, but yeah. If in turn they also increase enemy levels, not just character levels, it's still about a 2.7%. Like the gap between 90 and 100 stays pretty similar across enemy levels, unless it's like level 10 enemies, in which case it's a bit smaller, right? But like for reasonable level enemies, it stays around the same gap. Now, there's two ways to look at this. Either, like I talked about earlier, they're going to make the Hyperbloom and other transformative reactions scale less with level for 90 to 100 than it does before that. Or they're going to give characters Ascension passives for Ascension 7 once you ascend them past level 90 to try to balance things out. And that's where it gets interesting, because if they do that, that's going to change every single character's balance. That could be cool, and I'm looking forward to it. Part of why I'm not really convinced that this leak is real is that I feel like Hoyo is too lazy to do that, honestly. But yeah, another thing to keep in mind is if they are actually going to increase character level, it's likely they're going to increase enemy level or make enemy base HP higher for future enemies. Now that could be a problem because character investment is expensive. And if you look at how much investment a character needs to get them maxed out right now versus to max them out assuming they increase level cap to 100, that's another 300 purple books, that's another 10 million, more than 10 million Mora, that's another ton of talent books, boss materials, and it's a lot, right? And so if it is balanced around the assumption that you will have this, it is going to make it so that you're going to have to spend a lot of time not farming artifact domains. And I know that a lot of people enjoy farming artifact domains because it's somewhat interactive as opposed to the Heroes Wits farming experience where you're just, ooh, I may get 4 or 5. What a dynamic experience. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this turns out. I don't want to make this video too long. I think we've already talked about enough. Yeah, I'm excited to see if it actually does turn out to be true, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, YouTube. Business.